Wow.
Okay, Whitney. Now we're definitely official. I wanted to start off by asking you about why you decided to go back on the road. You're doing a bunch of dates, I think, right?
Yes, I am, and I think I have like 10 or 12 booked right now, but I still have like another 10 that's about to be confirmed. So I think I'm doing like 20 cities or something. And the last 3 years I've been, kind of had my plate full, and to say the least. And being a stand-up, like you become a stand-up because doing stand-up is the only thing that, like, fills the void in you or, like, makes sense for you given your sort of mental strengths and weaknesses. It was the only thing that kept me sane. And, you become a stand-up and it, fills up your heart and sort of heals you, and then things start going well, and then you start getting TV shows or whatever, and then that prohibits you from doing stand-up. And then it was like, oh, wait, now I'm going crazy again. But you can't take the thing away that was my sort of life force. So it was very frustrating, during the time that I was doing the shows that I wasn't able to do stand-up. I felt very lost. I felt very, like I wasn't centered, and so I'm just, being a stand-up is my number one, and I can't wait to get back on the road. I feel like I have so much to say. I've changed so much since the last time I was touring, and I feel kind of like I'm on fire, stand-up is, there's just, to me, it's the best thing in the world. So, I'm certainly not doing it because I have to, I'm doing it because I really want to.
Now, I think you turned 30 last year, so you're a little older. Would you say, wiser because of that? I know you're in a relationship. Is that shifting your material in a different direction? Or?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's exactly it. It's like 4 years ago when I did my last special, I was like single and like a slut. Like, I was like trying to figure it all out, and, I was making mistakes in relationships and dating guys. I was a mess in my 20s, and I had no concept of really my damage or healing or commitment. And and then I went through a lot. My mom got sick. I lived with a guy for a while, which was a, new experience for me. I had a lot of family issues. My sister got sick. I did the sitcom. I realized some of my own, pain. And then I turned 30 and a lot has changed. It's so funny. I feel like I'm on stage now. I almost feel like I've grown so much, and that's what was, hard about the sitcom, is that I felt like I outgrew the character of Whitney, the one that was 4 years ago. All of a sudden I'm like pitching on this girl, and I'm like, I don't even believe this anymore. Like, I've changed so much. So yes. So that relationship ended. I went through a horrible breakup. I'm now dating somebody new who's older and has a kid, and I just have so many new opinions and perspectives and experiences that I think a lot of people are relating to a lot. So I've been having a lot of fun preparing for this tour because, I think that I finally have gone through, so much stuff that I think everybody relates, not just young single people.
So now that you're so well known nationally, how does that impact you getting up in front of like a live audience? I mean, are you more nervous? Are you more comfortable? Do you worry about reactions to things because maybe it's going to get tweeted because you're more famous now or whatever?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think I have a little bit of fear sometimes now because, when you do a TV show, you get a lot of feedback, if you will. You get a lot of public praise and a lot of public criticism, and, there's all this, like, anonymous feedback, and so sometimes you get on stage and you're like, who are the ones that, you just have a little more, like, consciousness of that, but for the most part, I'm grateful that most people that come out are really supportive, or, a lot of people knew me before the show. So to have people come out who supported me from before the show and are like, this energy of it's so great to see you do stand up again. And, it's great. But yeah, you definitely have to be more responsible, you know. You definitely are, you know, have to be accountable for everything you say when people are, I mean, everyone's holding their phone now. I mean, I hadn't been on stage, you know, in like, I mean, I've been on stage, but I hadn't been doing stand-up regularly, and now people just hold their phones in their laps while you're on stage now. I mean, it's like constantly, you know, so I think it's not my prepared material, but when you do crowd work or mess around, you have to be really careful, I think, with what you say. You know, I've had some friends get in trouble with that. You saw Tracy Morgan, you know, said something on stage, and that, I mean, Michael Richards, that YouTube video, you know, it can be pretty scary. I mean, once Google Glasses comes out, I feel like I have to quit stand-up. I mean, it's like, that's terrifying, a terrifying concept to me. But for the most part, I just feel, you know, supported and strong. And, you know, I think when you know, and Seinfeld and Chris Rock always say this, is when you're, you know, when you're more known, it's like the bar is higher, you know, people expect you to be even funnier, even whatever. I don't really, you know, feel that pressure. I'm just kind of trying to be honest and, you know, connect with people and, you know, do what I do. I try not to focus on it. I've been in like such a bubble for the past 3 years. It's so weird to me that people know me. Like, I can't fathom it. Like, I haven't processed it yet. So I just assume that no one has any idea who I am.
And so now that you had 3 shows at one point, which must have been crazy, and now you have 1. So I guess, how do you feel about Whitney ending? This is, you know, the show with your name in it. You were the star of it. Was that upsetting, or you said, seemed to indicate you were ready for this because the storyline didn't quite connect with you anymore? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you know, it was a very mixed emotional, it was a very complex emotional thing for the show to end. You know, I think when you do a TV show like that, you have a family. You know, that cast and crew and the writers were my family. I mean, you see them every day for 12 hours for 2 years, and you know, it's an incredible. It was my entire life. You know, I think that, you know, doing a network TV show with kind of the sort of topics that I'm interested in is a little bit difficult, because you end up having to, you know, make compromises. I think that TV is all about compromising, and as a stand-up, it's I think writers are used to that, but as a stand-up, I'm not used to that. So it was very frustrating for me to be like, wait, but let's talk about this, and it's like, oh, well, we kind of have to compromise and do this. And it's just sort of like, but that's not as loud, that's not as truthful, that's not as exciting, that's not as challenging, that's not as, you know, taboo as I want to go. So, and you also, the schedule is just very, very difficult, especially acting in it and writing in it. You know, it was like, in a sitcom, you have 3 days to write it and a day to shoot it. And that's just, it's not a lot of time. And so I felt like I wasn't able to do everything I wanted to do in that amount of time. But it's, you know, I do feel like in a lot of ways the character, you know, I had changed personally, and it was getting harder and harder for me to write the character because I had changed so much and grown so much. But, you know, TV, you go into TV and to do, you know, I think we did 44 episodes or 40, like, that's a success. I mean, that's like, you know, with shows getting canceled so fast now, I'm in acceptance of, like, that's 2 years. Like, I'm so grateful for that. You know, the only thing I really, I think, have a thorn in my side about is, like, the critical response, which is so negative, because I think critics are just have such a prejudice against multicams. And that was kind of, that's still to me annoying. That's the thing that I think I walk away being the most annoyed about. Like, multicams, you know, we were all raised on. We all love them. There's amazing multicams. We still watch them in syndication and reruns. And yet, you know, critics are really hard on them, you know, and, you know, that to me is the only thing that I'm like, you know, don't quite have closure with.
So critics out there, listen. Whitney's coming for you.
Well, I'm just thought, like, you know, I read this quote the other day, and I can't remember who said it, but it was like, the quote is that critics are the people that come to the battle site after the war has been won, and they shoot the survivors. And, you know, it's true. It's just like, you do it. You make a TV show. Like, it's so hard, you know, to do. and you're putting yourself out there, and you're, opening your heart and your soul and trying to make people laugh and trying to do it in a different way and in a way that's worked for 55 years, and that, and then it's just that in TV, there's just all these variables. And I think that, as a stand-up, you write the material, you perform the material, they laugh, you're done. Like, you've succeeded. Whereas in TV, there's just so many, you develop, you get notes, the critics, the promo. I mean, there's just all these variables you have no control over that it's just, I think, takes time to really get used to and accept and be able to work around. And I struggled a little bit just coming from the stand-up world where there's like a purity of the process. And I kept bumping up against that. But I still, I had the greatest cast in the world, and, I'm still really close with them. And, Chris D'Elia, who played my boyfriend on the show, is a stand-up, so I get to see him all the time. And, and again, 2 seasons, as far as I'm concerned, is a really big success in network TV.
So, and the last thing I want to ask you is, do you want to get back in front of the cameras again, or are you happy to sort of have a break from doing that?
I do not miss being in hair and makeup at 5 in the morning at all, and having on fake eyelashes that give me a pink eye. I'm going to do an hour special. And, this tour is getting me ready to do an hour special, so I'll be in front of the camera then. I'm doing, this night show next week. I'm doing a couple things and, going back on Chelsea lately a little bit. But, yeah, I'm not, I'm pretty sick of myself at this point. I need a little break from myself. Maybe America does too. But yeah, I'm not in any rush. The next time I do it, I want to, do it right. I think this tour is going to help me kind of figure out what my next TV show would be. I need to do some digging, some soul searching, and kind of figure out, who I am now. And then whoever that is, how I can approach another TV project. But I'm working on another TV show that I'm not in, which is nice to be able to wear sweatpants to work. And, I'm working on 2 Broke Girls this year. I'm going to write some episodes and, so yeah, I'm going to take a little break from America's television, screen, at least in terms of starring in a TV show this season,
And is your special going to be for HBO, or is that still remain to be worked out?
I don't know yet. I mean, there's so many things are changing so quickly. It's like, I watch on Netflix. Netflix is doing specials now. I kind of was like, why don't they do it there? Comedy Central is still a great place. Like, I just, by the time I shoot it, which is probably going to be like early next year, I'm doing the tour to prepare. By the time I shoot it, I'm sure everything's going to have changed. Like, because everything is changing so fast with how people watch things, where they watch things. TV isn't just your only option anymore, So, Louis C.K. just released his online, like just on his website. And it was, so I'm going to sort of evaluate my options once the special is ready. I definitely don't want to rush it, because I feel like the last 3 years, doing TV and doing so many shows, it was all about rushing. How fast can you do something? And so now I really want to, do it right and focus on the tour, and make sure the material is ready.
Okay, great. Well, I know time is probably running out right now, so maybe we should just call it an interview.
Yeah, I ramble. I'm so sorry about my rambling, but I really appreciate
No, you were very, you give complete answers. I appreciate that much more. I wouldn't call it rambling. So thank you so much, Whitney. Great to talk to you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Sure, bye-bye.